Okay, so we're moving on here into Chapter 3 in Bio 101. And Chapter 3 deals with organic chemistry. And organic chemistry is the chemistry of carbon compounds. So carbon is kind of this unique atom, this unique element, in that it can do a lot of things that a lot of other elements can't do. All right, so carbon atoms are the backbone for all organic compounds. All right, and so this is showing, just a few, organic compounds here. And one of the things about carbon is it can make 4 covalent bonds. All right, and so we can make very long molecules with carbon because all we have to do is just knock a hydrogen off, put another carbon on, throw some more hydrogen on. Now we have a longer molecule. So you just add onto it. It can also form double bonds, which is what you see here. It can also form triple bonds as well. All right. This is showing some other, carbon compounds. So it can form these ring-like structures that you see here. This is all single bonds between the carbon. This is showing double bonds in there as well. Okay. So these are just some of the reasons why there are so many organic compounds. So we know of like 2 million organic compounds, and there's probably way more than that out there. But when it comes to all inorganic compounds, we only know of a few 100,000 of those. So there's a lot more organic compounds than there are inorganic compounds. Most of the stuff in you are organic compounds. Now, the simplest organic compounds are what are known as hydrocarbons. And the hydrocarbons are compounds composed of carbon and hydrogen. So these are the simplest organic compounds. And so what we see here are just hydrocarbons. Everything on this page is also hydrocarbons. The smallest of this is methane gas right there. So methane gas is the main constituent of natural gas. So there's other gases, ethane is in there, probably some propane. But these are non-polar molecules. They won't dissolve in water. All right. Now, another way that we can increase the number of known organic compounds is by having what are known as isomers. And isomers are compounds with the same molecular formula, but different structures. Okay. So it can be as simple as shifting where that double bond is, or instead of having a row here, now you have a branch there. So both of these molecules have the same number of carbons and the same number of hydrogens. It's just the arrangement of those is different. All right. So that increases the number of organic compounds. Another thing that can increase the number of organic compounds is by adding what are known as functional groups. These are groups of atoms that confer characteristic properties on an organic molecule. So you add these, and it's going to change the properties of that molecule. So adding a hydroxyl group makes it an alcohol. So this is showing ethanol. Ethanol is the alcohol found in alcoholic beverages, also the additive, in gasoline. And this is just showing, several other different functional groups. I'm not going to go through all these, but these add or confer different properties to these molecules. All right. So what we want to do is look at macromolecules. Macromolecules are large molecules. And most of these are what are known as polymers. Poly, many, and mer is, a single unit there. So these are large molecules that is a chain of smaller repeating units. So just the repeating unit that we see there. All right. And they're made of monomers. So each one of these is a monomer, a single repeated unit. All right. So a polymer can be a few monomers up to millions of monomers in length. So to make, to add a monomer onto a polymer, this is what is known as a dehydration reaction. So there's a chemical reaction resulting in a covalent bond with the accompanying loss of a water molecule. Okay? So we have a hydroxyl group on one side, hydrogen on the other. That gets put together. This guy gets added onto the chain. Okay? So we just made that chain longer. All right? So this joins monomers together in forming that polymer. If we want to go the other way, we have what is known as hydrolysis. Hydro, water, lyse means to split, splitting water. This is a chemical reaction in which a molecule is split by the addition of water. All right? So we add water in here. It's going to break this. Right? This is also done with the help of an enzyme. So it breaks that monomer off, and the hydroxyl goes to one side, the hydrogen atom goes to the other side. So it removes a monomer from a polymer. Okay? So next, let's look at biomolecules. And biomolecules are the molecules of life. And you've probably heard of most of these biomolecules. Those are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, like fats and oils, and nucleic acids, like DNA and RNA. So let's take a look at carbohydrates first. Carbohydrates, these are biological compounds made of one or more sugar molecules. All right? And so the simplest carbohydrates are what are known as monosaccharides. And so those are simple sugars. So these are essentially the monomers of carbohydrates. So one group are called hexoses. So hex means 6, os means sugar. So these are 6 carbon sugars. So you can see here glucose is a pretty important one. That is our blood sugar. And this is what cells break down for energy. So this is the main molecule cells break down for energy. And not just our cells, but all living organisms. Okay? Glucose and fructose here. Fructose is an isomer of glucose. Next are pentoses. So this is showing one pentose. So those are 5 carbon sugars. Those include ribose, which you see here, and also deoxyribose. So ribose is found in RNA. Deoxyribose is found in DNA. Next, if you take a couple of sugars, I always forget to do this. So a lot of times these monosaccharides, especially those hexoses, don't stay in this linear pattern of all the carbons in a line. What happens here is it will double back upon itself and form this ring-like structure. So that's what we're going to see in the next few pictures. So if we take a couple of monosaccharides and we put them together, we make a disaccharide. So this is showing taking a glucose and a fructose, you put those together in a dehydration synthesis reaction. This is going to make sucrose, which sucrose is table sugar. Okay? Other disaccharides you might have heard of is maltose. That is 2 glucose molecules. That's what's used and added to malts, to make them taste a little different. Lactose is another one. That's a glucose molecule and another monosaccharide called galactose. You add those together, that makes lactose. Lactose is another disaccharide. All right, let's take a look at polysaccharides. Poly means many. So these are polymers of monosaccharides, and mainly we're just talking about glucose here. So here, it's just one glucose molecule after the next when we take a look at all 3 of these. So the first one I'm going to mention here is starch. So starch is used by plants for energy storage. So as you can see, one glucose molecule after the next, just a nice, easy way for it to store energy. So like a potato is pretty much nothing but starch. Next is cellulose. Cellulose, as you can see, one glucose molecule after next. Cellulose is found in plant cell walls. Okay? So this makes for a hard, rigid structure, protects the plant, also helps provide cell shape there. Okay? And the thing about cellulose is even though it's made of the same stuff, its arrangement, how these bonds form, are different from what starch has. And so by being slightly different here, this makes cellulose indigestible by animals. We literally don't produce the enzymes to break it down. Okay? And so this can be a problem here, is that, let me back up for a second. So any animal that eats a lot of plant matter has a lot of microorganisms in their gut to help them break down this cellulose so they can get energy from it. So like termites have it, microbes in their stomach. Cows, you've heard of maybe cows have 4 stomachs. The first 2 are really sacs that house bacteria for them to break down the plant matter. Okay? So this leads me to corn. Now corn is a seed. And so a seed is a plant embryo with an energy source. And that energy source is starch. but that seed has a protective covering around it, which is made of cellulose. So this is what can happen if you don't chew your corn. So you can see, you know, the end. I mean, do you really need to see again? But anyway, if the corn kernel makes it past your mouth, you know, there's nothing in your digestive tract which can break that corn kernel down. And as this picture is showing, you can see it again later on. Anyway, let's go back to this. So next is glycogen. So here's showing glycogen. Glycogen is animal carbohydrate storage. So we use this for quick energy, so stored in our muscles. We also store it in our liver so that, you know, in between meals, like, you know, maybe you skip breakfast or something, you break down that glucose, you break down that glycogen, releasing glucose into your blood, so your blood glucose levels can stay normal in between meals. You can see it's very similar to starch there. The last type here is called chitin. And chitin is found in arthropod exoskeletons. So like what we see with this cicada, that exoskeleton there is made of chitin. It is a complex of polysaccharides with an amino acid. So an amino acid added on to the sugar. And so scientists have been able to take chitin and use it to make dissolvable stitches. So that's what this guy is doing right here. So if you've had a surgery recently and they stitched you up and they said you don't have to come back to have those stitches removed, they've put chitin in you because your body will break it down, but it'll last long enough for your body to heal.